Well, hello everybody, this is Tim Green with Rattle Magazine. Welcome to Poetry Spawn Live for, Sunday, May 2nd. Thanks so much for joining me. Poetry Spawn Live, as always, is an open mic for any poems you have about current events. And before we begin, I should say that Rattle is a publication of the Rattle Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit working to promote the practice of poetry. We've been in continuous publication since 1995 and are unaffiliated with any other organization. We just do this because we love poetry, and since you love poetry too, please do click the like button or give us a review or something like that wherever you're listening to this. Share it with your friends because that's the only way poetry spreads. It doesn't spread spontaneously in the same way that outrage does. Although, if you try to do like a Facebook boost or a Twitter boost or something and pay like $2 for spreading poetry around through Facebook's algorithms, you get a huge bang for your buck. It's kind of impressive. I boosted that video, if you saw A.E. Stallings, a little clip from her podcast episode. And the cost per through play, which is a full view of the video, so the whole 3 minutes, was less than 1 penny. Which you can't, it's a great, it's a great advertisement if you get like maybe 10 cents a click normally. So people do love poetry, but the algorithms don't love it in the same way. So do click something and it really helps. Now today's poet, the poem that we talked about. First of all, before we do that, let me just tell you how to participate if you'd like to. The open mic is open for any poems about current events. They have to relate to current events or past current events that this is the anniversary of, things like that. So anything that could be in the news right now, could be on your calendar right now, that's what we're talking about. And how you participate, first of all, you could have submitted the poem through Submittable. If you did that, you're good to go. The poem is already in our database. I can pull it up when you call in. If you haven't, though, or if you updated it since you submitted it, send it to openmic@rattle.com. That's openmic@rattle.com. After you do that, it'll take a little while for it to get to us through the interwebs. So do that right now. And then, after you do that, give me a call, either through Skype. If you'd like to be on video, it's Skype. Send me a chat message to rattlepoetry, all one word. Just say hello. I'll push the little wave back button. Then you'll know that you're on the list, and I'll call you back at some point in this hour. If you'd like to just call by phone, the number is 818-850-7727. That's 818-850-7727. And I got a little thing in my throat. And I don't know what I was going to say. But yeah, just do that and then you'll be good. I'll call you back when it's your turn, when the time is right. So now let's go to today's poet. And the poem that we chose for publication as the Sunday poem today was Tonight by Uttaran Das Gupta. And let's call up Uttaran right now.
Hello.
Hi, Uttaran. Thanks so much for joining me.
Hi. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So you're in New Delhi, right?
Yeah, I'm in a small town right outside New Delhi.
And so thanks, first of all, for sharing this poem. It was such a powerful, insight into what is going on there in India right now with the pandemic. We usually get about maybe 125, 150 submissions, and a lot of them were from India about the pandemic. But this is a poem that I thought captured, in a really condensed way, just the feeling of all the poems that were being submitted. So, do you want to just talk about a little bit about what's going on there for people who might not know?
Thank you so much for selecting my poem. And what can I say? There is a lot of despair in India at this point. As of today, the caseload has gone beyond 400,000 cases a day, and the hospitals are collapsing. And this is in big cities like New Delhi, or Mumbai, or Bangalore. They are not taking patients anymore. I had a colleague last night who needed to be admitted, and we just couldn't find a bed for him. Right. We are running out of oxygen, we have run out of medicines, and all of this is a result of gross mismanagement of the pandemic by the government, right? So there is a lot of anger on the streets among the people, and some of these things I had tried to capture in my poem, right? So, that's what it was.
Yeah, and just a month ago, I guess, I don't know if it was your poem that mentioned it or other people's too, but the Modi government was giving huge campaign rallies in March, with no masks and in closed spaces with thousands of people, and then this new variant came, which has the two mutations, which is worse than any other strain in the world, I think, right now. So it takes so much less exposure to be infected with the virus. And is there there's a lot of backlash against Modi's government for doing that?
Well, the election results came out today.
Mm-hmm.
These were elections to the local assemblies or parliaments of 5 states in India. My home state, which is Bengal, West Bengal, Modi's party was defeated there by the local party there. It managed to retain onto some other states, but there is a lot of popular feeling against Narendra Modi, who has been, let's accept it, whether we agree with his political opinion or not, has been a very popular leader.
Mm-hmm.
But his popularity seems to be waning very seriously. And the thing is, he had advice from his own medical commissions, right, to take better precaution against what was going to come, the second wave, but he did not.
Mm-hmm.
In January this year, he announced to the world at the Global Economic Forum that India had beaten COVID-19 pandemic, right? A religious meeting was organized with thousands of people without any precautions were taking a bath in the Ganga in the northern town of Haridwar just last month, right? So, a lot of things were ignored. We've fallen short of vaccines. We've fallen short of medicines. Thankfully, I got the first dose of vaccine today.
Oh, good. That's great to hear.
But a lot of people are without vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, really very, very sad and very, very disheartening.
Yeah. And there's a different feeling, watching it from the States now, because we have so much vaccine rollout. Like in the beginning, when there were outbreaks places, we felt like we were sort of together. There's that sort of sense that like we're all facing the same thing. But now I feel a sense of like deep guilt that we don't have to worry about it as much, because we're up to about like 45%, I think, of the population here is vaccinated. And so we're watching this unfold. Sort of, it's been a race between the new variants and vaccination, and to be on the other side of it. But it's also a lesson in hubris, I think, too, that we've seen so many times throughout the pandemic. Like the Czech Republic was shown as the pinnacle of how to do social distancing and masking and prevent it, and then and so that lasted through into the fall. And when they got their wave, now they're one of the worst fatality rates in the world. And so for everybody out there who's feeling safe right now and thinks that they don't have to take precautions anymore, I mean, it's a warning too that you might think you're safe, but we're not yet out of the woods. Do you want to read your poem now? I'll put it on screen for everybody at home, but you have to read your own copy.
Yeah, I will read my poem.
Okay.
And thank you once again for selecting my poem. It's called Tonight, because I have spent quite a few nights awake trying to arrange for hospital beds or medicines for people I know. So this poem tries to capture some of it. Tonight. The night is as still as paper, and ambulance sirens are paper cutters. If by chance the stench of burning flesh and heat keep you from sleep, search for the breathless to rescue. We keep a lookout for oxygen. Construction workers dismantle public parks to build burners. We've lost count of how many are undone. We dig shallow graves. We requisition big cranes to turn over earth, but nothing is enough for the assembly line of corpses. We'd give up. We'd run away, but there's nowhere to run. The night is still like dry paper and full of light.
Yeah, that's such a powerful. The ending there is when I knew, that when the poem just hits you. It's a great poem. Thanks for sharing that. Before I let you go, let me ask a little bit about just where poetry is in your life, because you're you're a columnist and editor for the Business Standard, so you're a journalist in India. And how did you become a poet sort of after you became a journalist or before? And journalism was the way you make money. How does how does poetry fit into your life? I'm just kind of curious about that in general, and then how do your colleagues feel about poetry too? Is something I always wonder about. Is it something that they think is cool, or is it something that you kind of do on the side that's different? How does poetry fit into your journalist work?
Right. So, well, just to say, I don't work at the Business Standard anymore. I teach journalism now at this university called OP Jindal Global University, which is about 40 miles north of New Delhi. But Business Standard, as the name suggests, is a financial newspaper, something like the Financial Times. So my day when I was a journalist was spent looking at the markets or looking at companies and their balance sheets. So, but what it did teach me was what journalism did teach me was the economy of words, uh, the importance of editing, being precise, being accurate about what you're writing. Sometimes poetry has this tendency to get away from the facts and into giving way to imagination. But I think what journalism has taught me is to restrict myself from doing that and to focus on what I know to be the fact, what I know to be accurate.
Okay, well, thanks so much for sharing that. Great insight. I love the idea of economy of words. It's definitely an important concept to consider for a poet. I'm so glad you could join us and share this poem. And congratulations on getting the vaccine today. And stay safe, and best wishes to everybody, and best of luck to everybody around you that's going through the pandemic right now. Is there a place that you would recommend sending donations to? I know you donated your payment to, we're sending it to India Care. Is there any other what do you think the best place to send a donation to if anybody would like to help out people in India right now?
Well, I mean, Red Cross India is doing an excellent job. Right? There are a lot of government organizations which are organizing, which are doing a good job. So, I would recommend Red Cross, which was, what I would originally think is a good place to send, or India Care, is also a good place to send.
Excellent. Well, yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us again and for sharing this poem. It was great to talk to you today.
Thank you. It was great to talk to you. Take care.
You too. Bye. So that was Udaran Das Gupta with today's poem on rattle.com. Thanks so much for sharing that, Udaran. Let's go to, before we open up the open lines completely, let's go to the past and see what was going on May 3rd, 2015. This is 6 years ago. I just pulled it up because it's fun to look back and use poetry as an almanac. And in 2015... this was the poem of the day. This was Jennifer Givhan with The Polar Bear. And let me see what the story was. My son and I watch science shows because he wants to be a scientist when he grows up. Online, the morning after we watched a show about the ice caps, I watched a mother taking her son away from the Baltimore riots. I wrote this poem, and unfortunately I didn't include a link for some reason. I should have included a link there. Let me see what the Baltimore riots were in 2015. I don't even remember that. Baltimore riots 2015. Well, here Wikipedia, of course, calls them the Baltimore protests, which might be a... So in April 2015, here we go. This is what was going on then. April 2015, police officers arrested Freddie Gray. Oh, that's right, the Rough Ride. A 25-year-old African-American resident of Baltimore, Maryland. Gray's neck and spine were injured while he was in a police vehicle, and he went into a coma. And then on May 1st, Gray's death was ruled by the medical examiner to be a homicide. 6 officers were charged with various offenses, including second-degree murder in connection with Gray's death. 3 officers were subsequently acquitted. In July 2016, following the acquittals, Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby dropped charges against the remaining 3 officers. And that was what was going on 6 years ago this week. And here is Jennifer Givhan's poem, The Polar Bear, which responded to that, in addition to climate change. The Polar Bear. Let me put this up now.
The Polar Bear. I'm just another asshole sitting behind a desk writing about this. Facebook status update. What I'm asking is, will watching the Discovery Channel with my young black boy instead of the news coverage of the riot funerals, riot arrests, riot nothing changes riots be enough to keep him from harm? We are on my bed crying for what we've done to the polar bears, the males we've bonded with on screen, whose search for seals on the melting ice has led him to an island of walruses, and he is desperate. It is late summer, and he is starving, and soon the freeze will drive all life back into hiding, so he goes for it. The dangerous hunt. The canine-sharp tusks and armored hides for shields, the fused weapon they create in mass, the whole island a system for the elephant-large walruses who, in fear, huddle together, who, in fear, fight back. This is not an analogy. The polar bear is hungry, but the walruses fight back. A mother pushes her pup into the icy water and spears the hunter through the legs, the gut, his blood clotting his fur as he curls into the ice only feet away from the fray, where the walruses have gathered again, sensing the threat has passed. My boy's holding his stuffed animal, the white body of the bear he loves, who will die tonight, who has already died, and my boy asks me if this is real. What I'm asking is, how long will we stay walruses, he and I, though I know this is not an analogy.
And that was, of course, Jennifer Givehan with The Polar Bear from Poetry Spawn, May 3rd, 2015. Look back in time. Now let's go to the open lines. And, yeah, Nibity says, "What a world! So many riots are happening that we lose track of those that have happened." It's true; they blend together. It's really a sad state of the affairs. Let's see. Let's go to the open lines, and first we will call Karen Wawrinski. And let me remind you before I do that if you would like to join in, I'm going to be calling you from the future. So I'll call, and the stream won't be caught up to where I'm calling you, so you'll sort of be surprised by it. Turn off or at least mute your stream that you're watching this, wherever it is, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Shut that off, and then just talk through the phone or through Skype, and that's it. Because otherwise, there's like a 30-second delay, and it'll be completely confusing. You'll hear me saying completely different things in each ear, and it doesn't make any sense. So make sure you turn off your stream when I call you, like you would for a radio show. You know, it's a delay. In this case, it's not for the FCC censors. It is for just the way the internet has to sling everything around. So let's call up Karen Wawrinski and see what Karen has for us today. Hey, Karen, how you doing today?
Hi, good. Let me see. I forget how I do this. Is that
No,
gonna work?
you were already good, actually. You were all
I
set.
was
So undo. There you go. That's better.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. So what did you want to share today?
Well, it was a particular story from a town near where I live, and this issue kind of crops up everywhere. But different ethnic groups get so charged up about flying their flag. You know, they want to fly, and the Irish have done it for a long time, St. Paddy's Day. And it just finally seems to me that we're all going to tumble into this fragmented world, if we aren't already there, where we have to have a flag. Everybody needs a flag. And I understand if you go to a rally or you're having your particular parade, you want to do that. But this was kind of a turf war at a little local town hall near where I live. And I've seen this other places. And then what I did is I kind of coupled it with a little wordplay on this idea of the counter space, which I'm not certain it's a part of quantum mechanics. I don't think it is, but it's an idea that Rudolf Steiner, a philosopher from the 1920s, well, he died in the 20s, but from the other century, came up with. And it's where we have to focus on our infinite inwardness rather than our infinite outwardness. And I just like that idea that, you got to find what makes us similar, not keep talking about what makes us also different. So that's where this idea came from.
Yeah, that was interesting. What was that phrase again? What was it?
the counter space.
Counter
And
space.
so,
Interesting. I've never
yeah,
heard of that. I'll have to look that up.
yeah, and it's kind of cool. It's the opposite of measuring things with real geometry.
Mhm.
It's talking about things that you really can't see. And then it has another definition, if I can go on for
Yeah,
another
sure,
minute
sure.
here. So it also means the pockets of resistance that are embedded in a larger context that enables individuals from marginalized groups to engage in collective disruption. So you can have a little counter space
Hmm.
inside of your own organization and kind of fight back against things you don't like. And then, of course, in my world, it's the kitchen counter. So I just kind of took those ideas and I tried to put them together.
Well, very interesting. Let's hear this poem. I'll put it up on screen for everybody at home. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, and it's called Put Your Flags Away. One comes down, another is created, designed, laid out, and sewn. Flags. Flags for your rivalries, your misplaced ethnic pride, your turf wars, your teams, your favorite season. Just get with it. We all come from Africa. The heart of humanity is there, scientists say. And we traveled and spread ourselves out in the four directions, creating cultures and chaos in equal parts. Why post a flag about it? Plenty to be proud of, plenty to be ashamed of. And here we all sit, about to choke together in this tarnished world, and another flag won't clean the air, pull plastic from the ocean, put nutrients back into the land, though you could wipe your kitchen counter with it, make a little more counter space if you get my drift. Perhaps that's where we all have to head, into the counter space, the place of subtle forces opposing Euclid's geometry. Go inward, where we can create and recreate infinitely, ponder the deep mysteries of life. We need a new dimension because this one is too full of flags, and I want to sit down.
Very interesting. Thanks so much for sharing. That was Put Your Flags Away by Karen Werinsky. Thanks so much, Karen.
Thanks, Tim.
Yep. Have a good night, or rest of your day, I guess.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye. Forgetting what time of day it is already. Okay, yeah, it's morning. I just woke up. I don't know what I'm thinking. Okay, so let's see who we have next. Let's go to Nivedita Karthik at the end of her day. And Nivi usually has a fun one, of course. So let's see what's going on here. Hey, Nivedita, how you doing today?
Tim, I'm doing great, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing great. How is everybody staying safe still and around you in that area you are, or how are things going?
Me and my family are safe
Mm-hmm.
so far, touch wood. But people around us, it's as bad. It's as bad as Uttran was talking to you about.
Mm-hmm.
The situation in South India is sort of better, like probably this much better than the situation up here in Delhi and Bombay.
Yeah, and
But-
that's the strains too. That in the South, there's it's mostly the UK strain, not the newer India strain.
Not the
So
newer
it's-
variant. No,
yeah,
not the newer
mhm.
variant. No.
Um,
Yes, so India is overall in a bad situation, but then I would say that for such a big country with such a big population, some of this is sort of, I mean, not to sound callous or anything, but things are being done. And of course, with such a big population, issues are bound to arise. And I think it will take a bit of time for the solution to crop up. So I feel there's no point in finger pointing and blaming people because I think the government is doing what it can. Maybe it's a bit slow on the uptake, but things are happening. Probably not at the pace with which we expect.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, a sense to me that I've always felt since sort of maybe, I don't know, not too far into the pandemic, there's just so much luck involved, so much, which super spreader.
it's all a game of chance.
It really is, yeah.
It's all a game of chance.
I think people, tend to sort of make political arguments based on, who's doing well and who's not. And so much is just where the planes landed and who, where it took off. And it's just like a game of roulette and where the mutations arrive.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so it's terrible to see what's happening there in India. But anyway, let's lighten up the the mood a little bit. And so what do you have to
Just
share with
a
us?
little bit today, because I mean, I was surprised. I usually search for like fun news stories, and this was a bad week, I tell you. Like, I couldn't find anything as amusing as the dog that won the race or anything. But then this was sort of one of the, it's not funny exactly, but it was sort of like where trends have taken us and what trends are doing. So to keep up with the trend, the COVID trend that's going on now, this chocolatier in Belgium has come out with, so apparently I think during Easter they came out with Easter bunnies wearing masks, and now to spread the message of vaccination, those same Easter bunnies, the chocolate Easter bunnies, now are holding syringes as well.
Oh, wow.
So that just was, I think it's cute, a little bit funny to see where trends are taking us. I mean, we're in the middle of a pandemic, but that is sort of giving birth to a whole new slew of trends. And the name of the chocolate was what caught my attention, and that's what this poem is about.
Okay, well, I'll put it up for everybody. Go ahead. Whenever you're ready, I'll have it up in just a second.
Okay, great.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. Lacha Azteca. 9 out of 10 people love chocolate. The 10th one is lying. Today, the sound of a sneeze strikes fear into our hearts. Yet, the sound of this sneeze promises a delicious treat. The last of the chocolate Easter eggs lies waiting in the fridge, a snack for the next morn. But lo and behold, a news headline drew me in with a tale of a surprising new treat come dawn. Bright and early I woke and went out the door, eager to get my hands on this delicious treat. And as soon as the store opened, I went in to sample some of this heavenly sweet. And what a sight met my eyes! Chocolate bunnies stand on the shelves just waiting to be gobbled up. But wait, something's odd about them. Oh right, they're all masked up. But that's old news, you say. Then what's new this day? Well, what's that they hold in their paws? Of course, they're helping us fight for our cause. This chocolate injection helps stave off our depression, not just by virtue of the chocolate in it, although let's be fair, that does play a major role, but by the cuteness factor that goes with it. Milk chocolate, dark chocolate, and white chocolate galore. Everything is such a delight that we could polish off 50 pieces and still want more. All in all, I just want you to know, chocolate is the best remedy to fight off the COVID blues.
Excellent. Nivity to Karthik, thanks so much, as always, for a funner story.
Just one small thing. So the title of the poem, the La Hacha Azteca, the hacha is sort of, I think the chocolatier meant that it sort of sounds similar to a sneeze. So, which is why the first part was, this is one sneeze that doesn't strike fear into our hearts. So it's sort of like achoo, and she made it like Hacha Azteca. So that's where the name of the chocolate came from. It's, I think, from an independent Belgian chocolate company called Cocoa Treat. So.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for sharing that, Nivita. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, Tim. Lovely talking to you. Have a lovely day.
Yep. Good night.
Good night.
This is Nivita Karthik with La Hacha Azteca. Let's see. Let's read. I'll read Carlton Johnson's poem. He hasn't had one in a while. Let me find the news article. Uh-oh. Page not found. Error. Let's see. Oh, okay. Let me. No, hang on a second. Okay, I have to go like this. Just hang on. Bear with me. There's something from Myrtle Beach, but the URL was a little messed up. Okay, here we go. So this is a story that, oh, come on. No pop-ups. This was a story that, that Carlton Johnson was writing about. New leash. Here. There we go. New leash on life. Puppy found with head stuck in pickle jar, rescued in Robeson County. And then, oh, that's such a sad picture. Look at that. Puppy with its head stuck in a pickle jar, but he was saved. So after a 4 to 5 month old Labrador mix is doing just fine after her head somehow got stuck in a pickle jar in the Fairmont community of Robeson County. She's affectionately being called Olive and Pickle. The Robeson County Animal Shelter Director, Jason Allison, said he got a call more than a week ago that a puppy was roaming the area with her head in a jar. I thought, what am I going to get into? I didn't know how bad it was, didn't know how long that dog had its head stuck in the jar. I knew I had to get that jar off its head immediately, said Allison. Allison said she used pruners to free the dog. I gently took my time and started slipping away the plastic container. It was good It was a good thing the dog remained calm throughout. So Olive stayed at the shelter for a few days until it was determined that she wasn't aggressive. The puppy is now at the Robeson County Humane Shelter in Lumberton. So I'm sure there are going to be lots of people wanting to adopt Olive or Pickle, whichever you decide is her name here. And that was the story that Carlton Johnson was writing about. And let's read Carlton's poem, In a Pickle. Here we go. In a pickle. We all have so much to deal with in this dark mist of living. Perhaps you're out of masks, need to go, and must make do with a red bandana, or when you're leaving in the morning and have only time to grab a banana. They say we are in a bind, with plague talk reminding us to stay indoors, get vaccinated. We're in a pickle. What to do? I think about Olive, a golden lab puppy whose head got stuck in a plastic pickle jar. In a pickle with all the pickle juices. A water dog. Olive needs no excuses to get her coat wet. Thankfully, someone cut it free of the plastic jar. Now she grins, happy to be out of the pungent pickle. Happy with a kiss and a wiggle. Fun poem, nice little rhymes there, Carlton Johnson. Thanks so much for sharing that. Nice story, too. I just love it when we get good stories to share. And it's one of those, it starts out not as a good story, but it turns out to be a good story. And I'm sure that Pickle has a home by now. I have no doubt about that. Let's see. Let's go to Richard Westheimer. See what Richard had for us this week. Morning, Richard. How you doing today?
Morning, Tim. Well, afternoon for
afternoon. That's right. Yeah.
Southwest Ohio. I'm doing great. I loved the poem that you picked this morning. It was that opening image just was captivating.
Yeah, it really was, and it was one of those ones where it makes reading actually much easier. Reading the submissions, it was one of the first ones I read. And so I had that as a standard to compare the rest to. It made reading much easier. I like seeing the best one first.
Yeah, that's. But yeah, and the voice was just it was crystalline. It was really, really, really clear. I love compact work like that.
Yeah, me too. So what did you have for us this week, though?
So I had the poem about Michael Collins, Universe of One.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So do you want to just explain? Because there were a bunch of poems about Michael Collins. I actually didn't know who he was until I started reading poems about him and realizing he passed away at 90 this week. Yeah. But do you want to just explain a little bit about who Michael Collins was?
Well, briefly, he was my hero. He was when Apollo 11, and everyone's familiar with Neil Armstrong, butchering that line when he stepped on the moon, and but the beautiful images of the footprint and stuff like that. And meanwhile, there was a man, and for all the Apollo missions, who had to remain in the command module and be there when the LEM miraculously took off and rendezvoused with him in this orbit around the moon. And it's just sort of, for me, it's mind-boggling to think about. It's math, right? It's math like we understand math, and of course the Hidden Figures movie about the maths behind this is stunning. But he was alone, and there were moments when he was the person who, as my epigraph says, not since Adam has any human known such solitude as Mike Collins, when he was behind the moon, behind the part of the moon that, the far side, he was the only person in the universe. And as a young, angsty 16-year-old, I'm much more related to him than to this, Neil Armstrong, who is larger than life. And it turned out he was literary, he was poetic. The book he wrote is sort of filled with these amazing images and you could just tell that he had been suffused with words, and he had that. My impression in reading about him is that he had those words as the reason why he wasn't lonely is because he was, and not desolate, is because he was living with that world of words. So when he died, for me, it was a John Glenn moment,
Yeah.
only sort of more pointed because of where he fit into my life as a 16-year-old.
Well, that's so fascinating. I'm going to have to find that book and read it. That sounds great.
Yeah. And if you have a subscription in the New York Times, there's a review of the book from 1974 that is, it'll remind you why we used to get paper newspapers.
Yeah. I miss that feeling of missing them.
Right. Because it's still, it's microfilm,
Yeah.
a projection, but it's a great article that will make you want to get the book.
Yeah. Well, thanks for, let's hear the poem. This is A Universe of One.
A universe of one. Not since Adam has any human known such solitude as Mike Collins. And that was in the mission log that was written by the people back on Earth, not by him. Strapped into a capsule, his back to all he'd known, eyes fixed on a great blackness that was broken only by a million stars. He was a census of one, enveloped in a conical world. Separate from all that ever lived, his mates having dropped from view, vanished to nothing against the slate blue of the sea of tranquility. Mike Collins, alone, the moon between him and us, could see our future in his isolation from everything, as he slipped by in his tiny home. With no seasons, no green or scent of soil, no fettle of blood-drenched battle, no sighs but his own, he sailed in silence. The only man alive with no horizon, he carried fire in his mind, vivid, the world wrought by poets, mountains and rivers without end, a choir of migrating geese, and oh, the cloud-strewn earth and its ruddy terminus, seen each time his ship, impossibly small, in the thrall of space, peeked from behind. These things he could describe, words already said, pale blue dot, season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, nature red in tooth and claw, a red, red rose. These things he could not describe, emptiness, the cosmos, not even sorrow, because nothing exists when each of us is a universe of one.
Yeah, great poem. The only man alive with no horizon. It's such a great way to say that. Thanks so much for sharing that, Richard.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. Appreciate you.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Richard Westheimer with A Universe of One, about astronaut Mike Collins. Let's see who. We have a first-time caller here at 609. Let's call up 609 to see who that is. Hey, this is Tim with Rattle. You're live on the air. Did you want to share a poem?
Oh, yes, Tim, I would. Thank you so much. Am I supposed to put on the screen mute? Or
Yeah, mute the screen that you're watching this, because it'll be a different time, place. Yeah.
Okay, yes. I'll be happy to read it. You tell me when. It's bread pudding.
Yeah, so first of all, who am I talking to?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Lisa Flanagan.
Okay, Lisa Flanagan.
I'm new to your
No,
your
it's
poet
no problem.
response.
Actually,
Thank you for the invite.
I'll put you on my in my phone book here, and then I'll know who you are next time. But for now, so Flanagan. Let me try. How do you spell Flanagan?
Flanagan.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me pull up. Yep, here we go. Bread pudding.
Yes.
And do you want to explain a little bit about what this was about?
It was in the past during election day, and just how I'm not really politically driven, but just how the views were divided, and I was just trying to project unity, to have some sense of hope for folks.
Yeah, well, that's something that we need so bad, because just our I remember reading an article about the way that self-selecting your news sources would divide us way back in like 2000 or 2002 or so in a media studies article, and just to see it over the last 20 years happen exactly like this. So So that was prescient, unfortunately, and we do need to be united and find ways to talk to each other at least,
Yes, absolutely.
So this is bread pudding. Go ahead and read it whenever you are ready. I have it on screen for everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Are you there?
Yes, I don't see it on the screen.
Oh, yeah. See, so since you have to read your own copy because.
Okay, I have it. I have it.
Yeah.
Okay,
because you won't be at the same place on the screen as you are when you're reading it. Because you're like 30 seconds ahead, so you'll be done by the time it shows up on the screen.
Okay, so read my own copy.
Yeah,
Very good.
exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, bread pudding. The bread rises. I butter my bread on the left. You butter your bread on the right. Let us have sweet jam in the middle. This is the age of anxiety. Our colors, red, white, and blue, have gone to gray. Where's the yellow, the familiar sun, to hold us all together? If it were only a simple white dove amongst the skies to lift us out of our divided selves, peace again, peace amongst all. I butter my bread on the left. You butter your bread on the right. Let us have sweet jam in the middle. The choice of the middle is gone. The yeast has decayed our unity. Let the so-called cinnamon, the essential spice, faith, rise us together. If it were only that simple. Peace again, peace amongst all. This is the age of anxiety.
And that definitely is true. I love that. I butter my bread on the left, you butter your bread on the right. That's a great way of, great image just pops out on that. Thanks so much for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim, for the invite.
Yeah, my pleasure. Have a good rest of your
Bye-bye.
day. I hope you call in again soon.
Okay, take care now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was Lisa Flanagan. Let me put Lisa in the phone book really quick with bread pudding. Here, let me add Lisa to our phone book. We'll know who it is next time. Okay, and now we have another first-time caller. This is a 646 number. Just called moments ago. Let's see who it is. Hey, this is Tim.
This is 646-2077.
So that was voicemail. Let me see. Maybe she'll call right back. Let's see. I'll put it on mute in case of the voicemail again. Hey, this is Tim with Rattle. You are live on the air. Did you want to share a poem? And at first, I hear myself in the background, so shut that off so you don't get confused. Okay. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, you do. Hi. Okay, so
Okay.
who am I talking to?
This is Joni H.F. Zozika.
Okay, let me. How do you spell that so I can look up your poem? I assume you submitted it.
Joni, Joanie, H like Harry, F like Frank, and then Z like zebra, O, S like Sam, I-K-E.
Okay, let me. Hopefully, I got that.
That was the poem on Bob Fass.
Yeah, I think I might have not typed it in right. What was the title of the poem?
Bob Fass, R.I.P.
Oh, I remember. Yeah, okay.
Easy enough.
Yeah, I remember this poem because it was another person like Mike Collins who I hadn't heard of before. So Bob Fass passed away. Do you want to explain to everybody who Bob was?
Yeah, sure. Bob Fass was a remarkably unique articulator of the 60s and forward. There's a great wiki article, and there was a huge obituary for him in the New York Times, amongst other places, regarding his contribution to broadcast journalism. He ran a show on WBAI radio for many, many years called Radio Unnameable. And he had a very freewheeling style of journalism. He had all kinds of people on his show. I mean, the poem itself actually describes a lot of him. So a lot of who he was and what he did. So I don't want to be redundant, but just to say he was one of the original Yippies, and he had people on the show as like Jerry Rubin and Abby Hoffman, but also like Bob Dylan and Tiny Tim and of course Judith Molina and Julian Beck and many people that you've heard about or maybe not heard about, but it was a real alternative radio pulpit, and he was also supposedly a big inspiration for, who was that radio rock hunter that really, shock rock.
Oh, Howard Stern?
Yeah, he was an inspiration for Howard Stern, although they took very different tacks.
Yeah.
But he really expanded the definition of radio journalism.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for sharing and letting us know about him, because I mean, maybe just because I'm not in the New York area or wherever, I've never heard of him, so it was great to learn about it through your poem here. Do you want to read it? I'll put it up on screen for everybody at home.
Sure, thanks. And yeah, Bob Fass, R.I.P., April 24th, 2021. Momentous accretion and loss, accumulated encodings, call them memories that presumably evaporate in time. No thanks, I'll hold on to mine till death do us part, and even after. But when it's gone, a jolt of electricity administered by kindly Dr. Frankenstein is not a rescue remedy for mortality. And so we come to Bob Fass, living legend, mouthy prophet, and insider of provocateurs. He must have had to stoop to get out the door on his exit from the established order. Resist might have been his middle name. True to his convictions, without pause, mischievous in his ministrations, pulling pigtails and legs from his on-air studio. I met him during my first engagement with the Living Theater, Poland, 1931. A giant of a man, soft-spoken, funny. During scene blackouts, I'd dodge him as he lumbered by, afraid he'd step on me. He became my friend. He was a mentor to a considerable village of artists. His support was unconditional, pure. Somehow, Bob looked perpetually perplexed, as if the absurdity of history was a surprise to him. He knew the facts and at the same time, slow and swift, could articulate truth through a stream of smoke from his never-absent spliff. I recall the times I feared he'd fall over from one of his far-out reaches into mental free space, tumbling like a huge punching clown, only to rebound with lucid inquiry on the cabal of the day. Chronicler nonpareil from incipient uprisings in the early 60s to the devolving revolutionary urge of the 80s and 90s, he fought to keep that delicate radical flame afire with his nocturnal whispers. To kids living in suburbs and sleepy hollows, he shined a beacon on other possibilities. They'd hide beneath covers on school nights, listening to that hypnotic, soothing voice. He sounded like a shibboleth of things to come. Come to New York, San Francisco, Boston. Come out and raise hell. They listened, knowing if only they'd flee their cages, they could change the world. I can see him today rolling on some lush lawn in the Elysian fields. Nothing so corny as heaven. He's passing his gold medal stash around to Judah Svalina and Julian Beck, Hanan Reznikov, Abby Hoffman, and here's Ben Haim and Shirley Ben Israel, Jimmy Anderson, Rupert Collins, Serena Urbani, Jackie McLean, Allen Ginsberg, Rip and Tony Torn, Penny Arcade, Tiny Tim, and who knows who else. He loaned out his impish bully pulpit in this world, continues to inspire us to be courageous in the next. Anyone with a good story is welcome to the after party.
Oh, that was wonderful. A great tribute to Bob Fass. Thanks so much, Joni, for sharing that.
Well, thank you very much, Tim, for having it and for holding this wonderful space.
Yeah, it's definitely my pleasure, and hopefully it can be a tiny fraction of what Bob Fast's space was. That's kind of one of my goals, so thanks for making that possible, being a part of it, Joni.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Check out the film, Radio Unnameable, by the same name. It's really inspirational.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
I definitely will. Thanks so much.
Okay, be well.
Yep,
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye. Yeah, that was Joni H.F. Zosike. And let me add Joni to our address book really quick so we know who it is next time. Hopefully Joni will call in again soon. And let's see, who do we have left on lines? We have Margie Tomsick and Patricia Rockwood, and that's going to be it for the day. So no more, the lines are no longer open. We'll call up Patricia Rockwood, and we'll call up Margie Tomsick, and then that'll close out the show for today. Let's see what Patricia Rockwood first. Let's see what Patricia had for us. Hey, Patricia, how you doing today?
Hey, Tim, I'm good, thanks.
Do you want to turn your camera on?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's hidden behind this little box.
Yeah, it's sneaky.
There it is.
Okay. I think you're coming.
Hi.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
So how you doing this afternoon, I guess?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a great show so far. I've really enjoyed all these poems. What do you have to share with us?
It's a reminiscence, actually. I was fortunate to be able to travel to India for several times during the 70s and 80s with a group. And we mostly went to Delhi and Kashmir. And so my poem is kind of a reminiscence about that time because I've been thinking about India a lot, sadly, of course. And I have a lot of nostalgia about that time.
Yeah, I'm sure. That sounds like an amazing... Yeah.
But, so it's called Waking in Srinagar.
Okay, yeah, go ahead whenever you're ready. I'll put it up.
Okay. When I was practicing it, I kind of broke down on the last part of it, so you may have to take over at the end.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I'll be ready.
Okay. Waking in Srinagar. Adrift in sleep, I wait for the first prayer of the day, and promptly at 5, the muezzin taps his microphone and begins. Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illa Allah. God is the greatest, there is no God but Allah, echoes over the dark city, reaching long arms into my dreams to pull me awake, weaving in and out like the flashing wings of hoopoes on the lawn, their black and white wings like semaphores, spelling out secret messages only God can decipher. Soon the clink of teacups rattling downstairs in the kitchen, the slap of sandals on the stairs signal bed tea outside my door. No alarm required. Morning is preordained, summoned, unavoidable. Gray light slides in over the mountains and across the mismatched gables and patched roofs as easily as a woman tucks a sari around her. Slivers of sun follow here and there, but we're high enough for pashmina. In a while, the street outside the compound begins to echo with the chatter and grunts of vendors, beggars, holy men, cows, and dogs. The cadence of a strange tongue bubbles in the air and comforts me somehow. The lake is not visible from my third-floor window, but I know what's happening there. I can see the flower walla loading the gondola-like boat, with so heavy with buckets of the day's fresh roses, glads, lilies, and those huge sunflowers he's in real danger of swamping. His route to the houseboats takes him through fields of water lilies and lotuses. In town, the shop boys are rolling up the iron shutters, sweeping the front stoops, making tea, gossiping. They know we may visit, hope we may buy, as indeed, dutiful tourists, we will, though we're mainly here to see the great man who lives across the lake, a long taxi ride around. Where does this love come from for a country not my own? It was our summer paradise, a rented illusion, built of sticks and promises, and the next year it was gone, as if it had never been, when war came out of the hills. There were soldiers at the airport then, and on every street corner, friends scattered to Canada or Delhi. I no longer wake to singing, though the muezzin probably still broadcasts his morning salah to the sleeping city I love. In the dark of the morning, at the turning of the year, making my own bed tea, I think of all the people I touched in Srinagar, and who touched me, and where they might have gone, all of us playing our parts in the great and terrible dance of the world. Thank you. Thanks.
On mute. Sorry, I had another cough. Anyway, yeah, that was Patricia Rockwood with Waking in Srinagar. And I was saying it's just a great journey kind of poem. It took us there so vividly. Thanks for sharing that, Patricia. And now we have one more caller that we had time for. Who did I say? Oh, I said Margie Tomsick. Let's call it Margie. Hey, Margie, are you there?
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
Well, I have a poem here, and it's regarding freedom for the moment.
Interesting. Do you want to come in on video, or do you just want to keep it on audio?
And let's see, it's basically about the CDC article that came up, and it relates to the fact that unlike India, we are, we are up our systems now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very different. And you are right. I feel very guilty in some ways about it. That was a poem that he wrote. Anyway, this is freedom for the moment. A year from yesterday, I tiptoed out my door, hoping to avoid another encounter with my next door neighbor, scouring my hands with sanitizer, spraying Lysol disinfectant on another doorknob. I carefully traced my footsteps, wearing an ever-present KN95 mask, trying to stand 6 feet away from the nearest stranger at the front of the line, sitting in front of a Zoom screen, making superficial small talk with my best friend, who I had not seen in months. As the clock chimed another hour, the lines on my face reflected prominently through the looking glass. Deep, dark circles, chiseled below sunken eyes, looking like a raccoon who'd been partying all night, except that I'd been locked in my bedroom for days, trying to avoid the breath of another. My first masked haircut, seated in a salon, wearing blue latex gloves, scared that a part of the floating in air fly up my nose. Rappling down the aisles of the grocery store, I looked askance at the shopper who wore her mask beneath her chin, rushed into the next aisle, hoping she wasn't an asymptomatic carrier. At last, receiving a text message, vaccine invite, heart pounding, fingers shaking, I clicked on the drop down menu to secure a shot for the COVID virus. Walking the Mall of America to a masked, socially distanced sea of humanity, waiting for a promised injection for a new lease on life. Freedom, feeling able to conquer the world just for a moment. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much. That was Margie Tomsick. Thanks so much for sharing that, Margie. Oh, she jumped off already. It was a little choppy. Sorry if that was hard to listen to. I was right on the edge of deciding if I should jump in and read it myself, or if it was worth sharing through Margie's own voice like that, because it was coming in and out on the audio, as you know. So let me know what you think. Should I jump in and cut people off when it's like that, or should I let them go? It's happened a few times. Sometimes I've cut people off, and sometimes I've let it go. Anyway, let's see. So that is the show for today. It's past 10 o'clock. We've been over an hour. It was a great show. So many great poems. Let's do the... I have to find it, though. Let's do the Saiku for today. And I have another sneeze. Hang on a second. Let me put up a screen. Yeah, next week's guest, blah, blah, blah. False alarm. Yeah, we have a cold in our house. And yeah, I'm kind of, it was definitely me that got it somehow, which is very baffling because I still, wearing masks. It's definitely not the COVID. We're all vaccinated. But it's like sneeze based. It's definitely a cold, some kind of rhinovirus. But I don't know how it got to me. I must have touched my eyeball or something after touching a doorknob. Anyway, let me find this. Hopefully I can get through it without the sneeze coming. This was a Saiku for the week. And it was based on this article from UC San Diego, the Jacobs School of Engineering. Let me put this up on screen for everybody. Here we go. This is the wave beneath their wings. The intricate dance of waves, wind, and gliding pelicans is worked out for the first time. And so if you watch pelicans, I've watched it, noticed this on the beach. I assumed, I'll play this video. So when pelicans fly, yeah, I have the audio off. Mute that. When pelicans fly, you'll see that they glide right at the crest, like right in front of the wave, almost like they're surfing. There's a surfer to sort of show you how it's similar. But pelicans glide right in front of a wave like that. And I always assumed that the reason they did it was is a hunting strategy to see schools of fish. Like in the trough right before a wave, the ocean water is a little lower, and then the fish are sucked up. And so I always thought that they were looking to try to find fish when they were doing that. But it turns out that's not what's happening at all. And according to this article from UC San Diego, what they're really doing is gliding on the updraft that the wave creates. So the wave moving through pushes the air up, which like lifts them up and lets them fly using less energy. And so they're conserving energy by flying that way, as you see in the video here. And a student at UC San Diego modeled that for the first time, and it was his master's thesis. And he was looking at the ways, or how much energy that the pelicans save as they glide over the waves like this. And it's a considerable amount, just by that little bit of updraft that the ocean waves provide. And so that's why pelicans do that. And so my little Saiku, inspired by that, is as follows. Here we go. This is my Saiku for the day. The upturned wing of an old pelican waves. The upturned wing of an old pelican waves. That is your Saiku for today. Thanks, everybody, for another great show. Really fun to do. A lot of great poems and great topics. That Bob Fass, the Mike Collins, and, of course, the heartbreaking stories from India. So glad he could be be here to share poems with us. And hope you have a great rest of your day. But before we go, let me say that this week's guest on the Rattlecast is going to be Tanya Ko Hong. Tanya's been in 2 issues of Rattle. In her newest book, The War Still Within, are poems about the Korean diaspora. She's a bilingual poet who does some translation to and promotes poems from Korean poets. And so we'll talk about the Korean diaspora. It should be a really interesting episode. I love it when I can learn things through poetry and poets. It's kind of the best way to learn. It's just the most fun. And so I'm really looking forward to that with Tanya Ko Hong. And the prompt for this week, once again, was to write an ekphrastic poem after one of the 10 cards from Rorschach's original 1921 inkblot test. So the original inkblot test, there were 10 cards. You'll, when you see them, you'll recognize them. You can go to Wikipedia and see all 10 really easily. So pick one of those cards and write an ekphrastic poem after that. That was the prompt for this week. Write a poem after one of the inkblot test cards, and then we'll talk to Tanya Ko Hong on Rattlecast number 91, Tuesday, May 4th, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. See you then. Hope you have a great rest of your Sunday. Goodbye.